Chances are you have at least heard someone say, "I'm great with faces and terrible with names." In fact, chances are you've probably been one of the people who have said that. Why is that? Well, the reason for that is because humans are created with the ability to identify faces quickly. It helps them to identify threats. If they can see an animal, for example, that is camouflage, and they see the face before it becomes a threat, then they've already spotted the threat and they can start to make action. This is why you see faces where there are none. In the clouds, in the trees, in the dirt, and inanimate objects. You can see faces, you can imagine faces where there are none. And this is also why we, as human beings, are great with identifying faces, but really, really poor at putting names to those faces. On today's episode of Mind Palace Memory Training, however, I'm going to show you how to get past this little handicap that our brain has. I'm going to show you an effective way to memorize any name in a matter of seconds. As I just mentioned, the ability to memorize names is something that many people find elusive. I'm sure everyone watching this video has been in a situation where they are introduced to a person for the very first time, and within the first 30 seconds of that conversation, they realize that they actually have no idea what the person's name is, despite having just heard it. But don't worry. This isn't because you're necessarily bad at paying attention. Our human minds simply aren't good at organizing that kind of information naturally. It takes all kinds of unnatural influences to help us memorize the names we do know. We know the names of our friends and family because of repetition. We know the names of famous people because they leave specific impressions on our minds, and oftentimes we use those famous people to remember specific names. But there is a method based on the loci system of mind palaces that improves your ability to remember a stranger's name tenfold. In this method, you assign an image to an individual that is designed to help you remember their name. You simply look at a person, locate a feature that specifically stands out about them. Maybe someone has very full lips, a mole, freckles, a large nose, maybe they're bald, maybe they have a nose ring or piercings. It doesn't really matter what peg you select. After all, it is in your head. You don't ever have to know about it. As long as it's the thing that easily stands out to you about that person. This feature then acts as their personal memory peg, the location where you will mentally store your image. Let's take, for example, one of my personal Watsons. This is David. How might you remember that name? Well, aside from the fact that it's a pretty common name, of course. Remember, even common names can be difficult to remember. For someone like David, I would use his glasses as his memory peg because they stand out to me. And then, to remember his name, I would take those glasses and replace each lens with a DVD, because the letters D, V, D each appear in that order in the name David. Now I would suggest steering clear of using certain pegs. Hair, for example, might stand out to you one day, but be totally different if they get a haircut and then your peg has changed. You want to pick pegs that are likely not to change very often. You wouldn't want to use someone's t-shirt as a peg because they will change their shirt. You wouldn't want to use someone's sunburn as a peg because that too is temporary. Technically speaking, even glasses aren't the best peg because some people only wear glasses on occasion. Finally, some people have been known to put a lot of prep work into this memory method, going so far as to assign a specific image to every name. Personally, I find this to be unnecessary. You're bound to encounter people who have names you've never heard before, and thus won't have a pre-selected image to assign them. It's better, I think, to practice being able to assign images in the moment. However, if you feel that the extra preparation would be useful,